OMG, I'm shocked. I can't even believe it. What am I talking about? The shocking thing is that the Supreme Court has overturned the conviction of murder on Adam Montgomery, the murder of Harmony Montgomery, who was 5. So now we got to go through it all again. But not even me. Her little brother, who's going to be old enough now to know what the hell is going on. Could this man be more selfish? Okay, what he's saying, you guys, what is being said is that okay, I'm just going to have to show you the paperwork. This is just, all right, we're going to be going through some paperwork. We don't normally read everything, but when it comes to Harmony Montgomery, this is a big thing for me. This is a case that we thought we had wrapped up. I mean, I was still celebrating that this man was being held accountable for the horrific things that were done to his daughter. And now it's all off the board. We got to start over. Okay, so Letica Staunch, we've got Adam Montgomery, and then Alec Murdaugh, or however you say his name. Why aren't they all getting new trials? What kind of bull crap is this? Welcome to 11 True Crime. I'm sputtering. I'm going to have to read things to you to refresh your memory if you have even had enough therapy to forget what happened to this precious child of Harmony. He's getting a new trial. We got to do it again. So let's say hello to our live audience as well as our absolutely beautiful replay crew. We have a new member, Dana. Yo, good to see you. How you doing? Thank you for joining us on Private Eyes. And with this, you guys, it's true. Now, how many of you, give me a 1 if you know about the Harmony Montgomery case. Give me a 2 if you don't. So I'm going to tell you a bunch of stuff today. This may go a little long compared to our normal. Jenny always makes me laugh. Jenny is a sweetheart. I know it sounded like Jenny was eating weed when she was weed eating. It was funny. Okay. 2 trials I don't want to sit through again. Yeah. We have a lot of ones. Nick UK, Jennyville, Smudger, y'all know. J.E. Girl knows. Okay, Sausage and Mash has a 2. Windy Bay has a 2. Okay, so a lot of it's half and half. So those of you that do know every detail, bless your soul. Okay, let me bring you up to speed for those that don't. So in 2021, I found about all this information about a little girl that had not been seen or heard from in 2 years. Her little brother, now keep in mind, she's only 5. So little brother is like 2 or 3. I think he was 3 or maybe 4. He might have been 4. If I remember right, he's 4. Anyway, it's her little brother. He wants to give her a present. He's in foster care. Now keep in mind, little Harmony's only 5 and she's already had a hell of a bad life. Her mother, her last name is Surrey. Okay, some people call it Sorry because she was a sorry mom. She was on drugs. She was doing bad things, and she lost custody of Harmony and her little brother. In that, she went into rehab and other things to try to regain custody of her daughter. So while she's working behind the scenes to get herself back on track and get away from the drugs and rehabilitate herself, Harmony is in foster care and a very, very loving family, as well as her little brother is in foster care. Now, it comes time to adopt, and the foster parents, as far as I understand it, were able to adopt Harmony's little brother. However, even though Harmony and her brother had a daddy, Adam Montgomery, the monster, who had a felony rap sheet that let me just do the whole Christmas list length, right? It was like bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. He had harmed another person in the face with a weapon. Okay. He got a teardrop on his face. This rap sheet's a mile long. The judge is like, you know what, Adam? Why don't you take custody, sole custody of Harmony? None of us to this day can understand why on earth this child was given to her father when he was already a monster. Okay. So as she's with her father, they live with the father, who is Adam Montgomery, the step monster, which is Kayla, and she's got her own little kids of 2 little kids that are both her and Adam's, okay? In this, they also have Adam's uncle living with them. Now, the uncle takes off for a trip to go fishing. He's gone for like 3 weeks fishing, whatever. He comes back and Harmony has got a big bruise and black eye and bruises on her. So he said, what happened to you? To Harmony. What did you do? And Harmony's like, nothing. Well, the dad, Adam, he tells the uncle, she didn't do anything. I did that. So Adam alleges that he left the 5-year-old in charge of the 2 babies, 5-year-old, while he went to go to the bathroom. And when it came out, Harmony had her hand over the baby's mouth, and so he punched her around the house. Well, the uncle calls the police. The police come. Nothing's done, by the way. Nothing's done. They make some comments that, yeah, she is a bruiser. However, Adam and Kayla, they get evicted from this house they're living in not too long after that. And they're living out of their car with the kids. The uncle's long gone now because he done ratted him out. So he's not in the picture. So it's Adam, the step monster, right? And the monster father, with the 2 babies and Harmony all in the car. They're living in. So this angers him much further. And he punches multiple times, which at that point, she goes silent. And allegedly, he turns to the step monster and says, I heard something that time. I think I did something. So while they're on their way to Burger King, the car breaks down. And when they're unloading the kids and the stuff, they realize that Harmony is no longer alive. And so he gets a duffel bag. They get a duffel bag and they place her in the duffel bag. And she remains in that duffel bag for 2 horrific years. And he keeps downsizing her. He even takes the duffel bag and puts her in a container and then starts taking her work with him and keeping her in the freezer at work. Okay, keeps downsizing her and downsizing her. He stores the container in an apartment up in the ceiling tiles where they found biological evidence, and the fridge where they found that he stored her in the cooler too. This horrific story, Harmony's body was never recovered. And it gets rough. So now you know what has happened basically to Harmony. Thought was me. We just had thunder. I don't know. It could be because we're talking about wee ones and damage at the same time. That gets very sensitive. Anyone else buffering? Just you? Is it buffering? Yeah, we were buffering. Okay, let's jump over here. Notice, this is the paperwork on Adam Montgomery that was just released, okay? This opinion is subject to motions for rehearing under Rule 22 as well as formal revision before publication in the New Hampshire reports. Let's make this a little bigger so you can see. Okay. Readers are requested to notify the reporter Supreme Court of New Hampshire, 1 Charles Doe Drive, Concord, blah, 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 of any errors, blah, blah, blah. State of New Hampshire versus Adam Montgomery, argued October 15, 2025. Opinion issued June 11th, 2026. John M. Formella, Attorney General, and Anthony J. Jaldry, however you say it, Solicitor General, and Sam M. Gonya, Assistant Attorney General, on the brief and orally for the state. Pamela E. Felon, is that Pellon or Felon? Senior Assistant Appellate Defender of Concord, on the brief and orally for the defendant. The defendant, Adam Montgomery, appeals his convictions following a jury trial in Superior Court of second-degree murder, second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, and abuse of a corpse. We affirm in part, reverse in part, and remand. Statement of facts. The jury could have found the following facts. The defendant was the biological father of the victim, Harmony Montgomery. In February of 2019, the victim went to live with the defendant and his wife, Kayla Montgomery, at the defendant's grandmother's home in Manchester. In July 2019, when the first charge offense occurred, the victim was only 5. The other occupants of the home at the time included the defendant's uncle and the 2 biological children of the defendant and Kayla. Both of those children were younger than the victim. The defendant's uncle returned home in July from a 3-week trip and saw the victim in the kitchen with a black eye. The uncle asked the victim what she had done, and the defendant answered, "She didn't do anything. I bashed her around the effing house." The uncle testified that the defendant said he put the victim in charge to watch her 5-month-old brother while the defendant used the bathroom. When the defendant returned, he found the victim with her hands over the baby's mouth, and his lips were supposedly blue. On November 27, 2019, the defendant's family was evicted from the home in Manchester. The defendant, Kayla, and the 3 children began living in their car, which they parked at a friend's apartment complex in Manchester. Although the victim was toilet trained before she was 3 years old, she started to have accidents once the family began living in the car. When the victim had an accident, the defendant became angry and would hit her in the face or on the leg or hand. The defendant became angrier the more accidents the victim had, and one that hit her repeatedly. On December 7th, 2019, the victim had an accident early in the morning, and the defendant repeatedly punched her in the head. Later that morning, the family drove to a methadone clinic where Kayla and the defendant took turns going inside while the others stayed in the car with the children. When the defendant returned to the car, he realized the victim had had another accident and started yelling at her and hitting her in the head repeatedly. From the methadone clinic, the defendant drove the family to Burger King. While they were driving, the victim was in the back seat crying and making a strange, moaning-like noise. The defendant told the victim to shut up, and at each red light at which they stopped, the defendant reached back and repeatedly punched the victim in the head. The defendant stopped hitting the victim when they got to Burger King. With the final punch, he said in a scared voice that he felt something and thought he really hurt her this time. Later that day, the family's car broke down at a traffic light and they had to abandon it. As the defendant and Kayla were getting the children out of the car, the victim did not respond, and they realized she had died. The defendant got a duffel bag from the trunk, put the victim's body in it, and brought it back to the friend's apartment complex, where the defendant put it in a snowbank. Following the loss of their car, the family stayed in a friend's car, then with Kayla's mother, and then from December 30th through February 20th at the family's in transition, the FIT shelter in Manchester. The defendant brought the duffel bag containing the victim's body to each place where they stayed. At FIT, the defendant put the duffel bag in a ceiling vent in their room. When the victim's body began to smell and leak fluids, the defendant put the body into garbage bags, which he then stuffed into a diaper bag. The defendant worked at a restaurant at the time and would store the bag in the restaurant's freezer while he was there. The family moved from Fitch to an apartment in Manchester. I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to come up to topside. This was all shown at trial. But a year and a half before any of this apartment and the freezer came to even know, nobody knew it at that time. I kept getting this image in my mind of little Harmony saying that she had been stored in a container in the fridge, in the freezer part. And it was getting so strong, I was starting to lose sleep. Now, I'm not a psychic. I didn't know what to do with this. And I kept hearing her say in my mind, my daddy threw me away like trash, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I decided to do a pendulum reading. And when I did, we printed out maps, all different kinds, like you've seen me do before, all different kinds of maps. We folded them all up so I wouldn't know which map was what. I hit on one or two maps. So we opened up those two, put the others aside, and I opened up this one, and it was just a neighborhood, complete complex neighborhood after neighborhood and all this. And so I did my pendulum, and it was circling unbelievably. You can go watch these videos. They're still up. And it was showing me this one location, and I was like, I have no idea. It's literally just a house in the middle of this block. I don't even know. And it's right by this wolf place over here, this wolf park or whatever. That's so weird. It all like is so weird. A family member, that's all I can say, got in touch with me through email and said that I blew their mind and that I needed to know and I needed to be aware that where my pendulum was circling was Adam's old apartment. That floored me. And for the first time ever, I felt like I had to contact the FBI regarding a case and be like, hey, I'm just, I did a pendulum thing. Anyway, I called the feds. I called the FBI. They took me completely serious. I was shocked. They treated me with respect. They kept me on the phone for a half hour. I gave them all kinds of details, told them way more than I've ever even shared with anybody. Still to this day, there's some things I'm not going to talk about that I told them. And I was like, okay, I did my job, right? I did my job. But I didn't feel any better. But I was like, all right, at least I reported what I saw and all that. So I came back online and I told everybody, I called the FBI, reported it all. The whole vision of the fridge and the apartment. I could see the inside. To this day, I can see the inside, like in my mind, of what that apartment looked like. Everything is weird. Anyway, I'm not psychic, so I don't know. But anyway, lo and behold, it was like 4 days later, my phone starts blowing up. Like I never had my phone blow up like that since Gabby Petito was found. And I look, and everybody, including Jennyville, is like, OMG, turn on your TV. They didn't tell me what channel, didn't tell me nothing. Well, it was national news. The FBI was at the location where I had given them the address that my pendulum had hit on, that was allegedly, according to a family member, Adam's old apartment. And lo and behold, on national news, the feds were removing the fridge freezer, both of them together in one unit, on a dolly, and bringing in a new fridge to that family, and they were hauling that away. And later they find biological evidence in that freezer, just like I said, of Harmony Montgomery. Can't make it up. It was all live. There was no way to predict any of it. It just happened. So that's why I'm very attached to this case. So that reminded me of it when this happened right here. The family moved from Fitch to an apartment in Manchester. There, the defendant kept the victim's body in the apartment's freezer. The defendant began discussing getting rid of the victim's body and devised a plan to dismember her and use lime, which he believed would hasten decomposition of the body. On February 26, the defendant withdrew cash from the ATM and purchased lime, an angle grinder, a blade, and a battery. At some point thereafter, the defendant thawed the victim's body in the bathtub at the apartment and had Kayla help remove the victim's clothing. The defendant had a large bag of lime and spent several hours in the bathroom with the victim's body. When the defendant was finished, he put the victim's body back in the diaper bag and put the bag back in the freezer. On March 3rd, the defendant and Kayla stayed at an Econo lodge with a friend of the defendant and the friend's girlfriend. The defendant had asked the friend to rent a U-Haul for him because he needed to move some stuff. That evening, the friend arranged the rental. Back at the hotel, the friend and the defendant went outside to smoke a cigarette, and the defendant began pacing back and forth, repeating, "I fucked up." The defendant left the hotel in the U-Haul in the middle of the night. He left the diaper bag containing the victim's body with him and returned without it, telling Kayla he got rid of her. I want to reread that. The defendant left the hotel in the U-Haul in the middle of the night. He took the diaper bag containing the victim's body with him and returned without it, telling Kayla he got rid of her. After the defendant killed the victim, he began telling people that he had returned the victim to her mother in Massachusetts after Thanksgiving in 2019. The victim's mother, however, had not seen the victim since April 2019. Therefore, the victim's mother tried to contact the defendant and Kayla, but was unsuccessful. By December 21st, the victim's mother had reached out to the state and local agencies and officials to try to find her daughter. At that point, law enforcement became involved in the search for the victim. The defendant was indicted on one count of each of the following offenses: second-degree murder, second-degree assault, and having struck the victim in July of 2019, falsifying physical evidence and witness tampering. He was also charged by criminal complaint with abuse of corpse. The defendant filed an assent to motion to join the charges for trial, which the court granted. Subsequently, however, the defendant moved to sever the second-degree assault charge from the other charges after receiving a Zwicker letter from the state, quote, imparting information from Kayla Montgomery that marks a substantial departure from her prior statements. The trial court denied the motion. The defendant also filed a number of motions in limine, which, irrelevant to this appeal, included motions to exclude: 1. Evidence that he had prevented the victim's mother from seeing the victim; 2. Evidence of his abuse and neglect of the victim other than the charged conduct; and 3. Evidence of his encounter with the police on December 31st of 2021. The trial court denied the defendant's motion with respect to interference with the victim's mother attempts to see the victim. With respect to the remaining two categories of challenged evidence, each motion was granted in part and denied in part, which the court limited with what the state could introduce. It declined to exclude all of the evidence in each challenge category. The defendant was tried before a jury of February 2024. In his opening statement, the defendant's counsel told the jury that it, quote, can and should find the defendant guilty of falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. He asserted, however, that the defendant committed those crimes to protect Kayla, who was the last person to see the victim alive and know how she died. He contended that the victim did not die during the day on the February 7th, but during the previous night, while the defendant was running around trying to make money to get them out of their situation, and that Kayla was alone in the car with the children. He told the jury that it would not hear truthful testimony from Kayla and that the only reason she has to lie and point the finger at the defendant is because the truth points the finger at her. The jury returned guilty verdicts on all charges. This appeal followed. So, I'm not going to read the rest of this. I'll let you do that. I will put this link underneath my video once we're not live, and that way you can read it all. The point is, basically, everything that's being said is that Adam is saying that originally he thought, based on what Kayla had said, that he was going to beat it. And so they could lump it all together. But then when Kayla revised her statement, he wanted to break apart some of these charges. And the court said, no, you already agreed to them. And he's saying, well, yeah, but you guys changed the way it works. So it's a loophole. We're going to have to go back through trial. But now, if you didn't know, you know now what has been alleged happened to little Harmony. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. Poor baby was so little. Absolutely no doubt about that, Nikki. What did Nikki say? Sessage says, could have been related in past life for you to true crime her case. It was one of those things, like in true crime. How did I get on the Nancy Guthrie case? How did I get on the Summer Wells case? How did I get on the Gabby Petito case? It come into my world. And it was there, and it just floored me. Like, nobody knew who I was talking about when it came to Harmony Montgomery in the beginning. Like, no one had heard of Harmony Montgomery on my channel. And other creators were just starting to get on the Harmony Montgomery case. A lot of them didn't stay with Harmony Montgomery like we did. We stayed with Harmony Montgomery through thick and thin, and we still stand with Harmony. So I'm back. If this case... Oh, thank you, Patty Smith. If this case is going to reopen, then here I go again. Because I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to let it go. I'm just so upset that we have to go through this entire trial again. And the horrific details and the way it makes you almost biased. When you get into like Jack and Lily Sullivan's case, and you got Daniel on there lying through his teeth, I see him as Adam Montgomery. I can't help it. I'm like, oh, where are the kids? You know? Everything that... You feel me. You feel me. It's heartbreaking. Is there somewhere we can send a letter of how this is so very wrong? Well, you can contact the Virginia, okay, let's see. It's the New Hampshire Supreme Court. However you do that, let's see how you do it. Okay, let's get the address. What is the address to write the New Hampshire? Did I do that right? Okay. I'm going to copy it and put it in chat. This is where you will mail your letters and do it. Absolutely. Put it out there. It is the New Hampshire Supreme Court, 1 Charles Doe Drive, Concord, New Hampshire, 03301. Right here. Let me make it big and center. If you want to write, and let them know how you feel. Write them a letter and let them know you disagree with their decision. New Hampshire Supreme Court, 1 Charles Doe Drive, Concord, New Hampshire, 03301. There it is. There it is. Yes, I was consumed, Carla. I'm still consumed when it comes to Harmony Montgomery. She deserves justice. She deserves the truth. So heartbreaking. Okay, you guys. So Adam Montgomery's conviction for murder was overturned by the New Hampshire Supreme Court on Thursday. That was yesterday. Let's make this a little bigger so you can see it. Right? Look how cute she is. Oh, she is just a doll. And look at that monster. The higher court ruled that Montgomery didn't get a fair trial because the trial court should have severed the murder and second-degree assault charges. Prosecutors alleged he beat his daughter to death in December of 2019 after she became incoherent in the car. He was sentenced up to life in prison in May of 2024 in connection with the beating death of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony. A jury had found Montgomery guilty of second-degree murder, second-degree assault, witness tampering, falsifying evidence, and abuse of the corpse. However, in a ruling on Thursday, June 11th, the higher court concluded that Montgomery didn't get a fair trial because the trial court should have severed the murder and a second-degree assault charge in CBS News reported. According to the Boston.com, the assault, where he allegedly left his daughter with a black eye, occurred in July of 2019. Prosecutors allege Montgomery later killed his daughter in December of 2019. His other convictions, second-degree assault, witness tampering, falsifying the evidence, and abuse of the corpse, were affirmed. So, he's going to try and pin it on Kayla. So yeah, meaning his murder conviction was reversed. Look at her. She's so beautiful. So cute. And the things and that thing next to her. Why are so many cases being overturned? I have no idea, Carla. I don't understand it. Although the defendant requests that we reverse all of his convictions, his brief does not specifically address his convictions of falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, and abuse of a corpse, court wrote, according to NBC News. To the extent the defendant does challenge those convictions on appeal, he has failed to demonstrate reversible error for the foregoing reasons. We reverse the defendant's conviction of second-degree murder, affirm his convictions of second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, and abuse of corpse, and remand. Prosecutors said Montgomery beat his daughter to death. We read all this. And you know the rest. So, with that being said, I am going to, it tears me up. It tears me up. Rachel Mary, it's so heartbreaking, that poor little girl and what she suffered and how frightened she must have been. Yes, that evil sperm donor will not be free. And we all pray for justice for Harmony. Seriously. All right, my lovelies. We're going to come back together in about 5 minutes. I'm not going to do a Q&A today, but I do want to see what the cards are going to reveal about this. And see, is this going anywhere? I mean, we got to do a whole trial again to see if a chance. My daddy threw me away like trash. That's what she always ran through my head relentlessly, and it came to the point I wasn't even sleeping. I'm not going to let it get to me like that, but if you go back and watch the older videos, I tell you that he turned around at a red light, and that's before any of this court stuff came out. This is what I saw, like a flash of a movie. Where he would turn around at a red light and he punched her, and there was this crunching sound, and she whimpered and passed out. He then removed her, and in what I saw, I say a cooler or something like that. It's a container. Well, it turns out it was a duffel bag. I said he put her in a cooler or something like that and put her in the trunk, and they continued on their way. And when that all came out in court, I had said that probably, you can ask my people, a year and a half before anybody knew anything about this case much at all, I had said that over and over and over and over again. You can still go watch me talk about it. And it wasn't just readings. It was what I was being given in information, like in my head. It was crazy. They all talk the same bullshit. So all the suspects, if Lori Vallow gets overturned, you'll have to put me in the nut house. Shaking my head, definitely not doing that again. Right, seeking justice. It's that bad for me. It's that bad. It's seeing this. It's like you can't kill the devil. You can never get rid of the devil. You just have to fight him again. And it's tiring and it's exhausting. And it's so heartbreaking that this child isn't getting justice right now. We thought we had justice, at least earthly justice. I don't know. Aw, thank you. It is a very hard case for me, Nikki. You know that. You know that. But I'm not going to give up on Harmony. Zoe says, thank you for joining us today, and please subscribe if you would like to. And hype to show your love and support. I do appreciate every single one of you. You make a difference in my life, and you make a difference in the victims' lives. And it's your support. We have to stick together, and we have to stand up. Even if, like we're only getting 55 people in chat right now. It's not the amount, because we never had a huge crowd covering Harmony's case. But we made a huge difference. And we put him behind bars. We just got to do it again. But we've got each other. Harmony can rely on us. I love you guys. If you would like to continue on with me, I'm going to pull some cards. I'm not going to do the Q&A, but I am going to pull a few cards. I just want to see what information comes out of the cards. What can we learn? I mean, maybe nothing. Then again, maybe something will come out that we'll find something out. I don't know what it could be. I don't know. We'll give it a try and just trust. That's all we can do. I just want to put good, solid energy towards Harmony. All right, you guys, I love you. To the moon and back. And if you're jumping over with me, it'll be about 5 minutes. I've got to potty the dogs. And because we're running a little longer today because I did 2 regular videos. Anyway, thank you all so very much. I'll see you again in just a minute.
From the dust I was born, to the dirt I shall return. When my eyes are closed, in the shadows, my enemy